In 1913, a photograph captured three men who controlled nearly half the planet: King George V of Britain, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, and Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany. They were first cousins, grandchildren of Queen Victoria, who attended each other's weddings and wrote letters using affectionate childhood nicknames. Yet within 5 years of that moment, one was executed in a basement alongside his entire family. Another was forced into humiliated exile under cover of darkness. And the third, King George, remained firmly on his throne, more popular than ever. This stark contrast highlights one of the most compelling questions in modern history. How did Britain's royal family survive when virtually every other major European empire collapsed? While the Romanovs were massacred, the Habsburgs scattered, the Hohenzollerns deposed, and the Ottomans dismantled, the House of Windsor managed not only to endure, but to remain one of the most recognizable institutions on earth. Their survival was never guaranteed or inevitable. It was the result of a centuries-long evolutionary strategy governed by a brutal truth. Monarchs who cling to absolute power lose everything, while those who learn to surrender it survive. The foundation for this unique survival mechanism was laid long before the 20th century. In 1215, a deeply unpopular King John was forced by rebellious barons to sign the Magna Carta. Though initially a feudal deal to limit royal extortion, it established a revolutionary concept: the sovereign was not above the law. Over the subsequent centuries, this principle birthed Parliament, a formal body designed to check and share royal authority. When the Stuart kings attempted to reverse this balance in the 17th century by ruling through divine right, the nation revolted. King Charles I was tried for treason and executed in 1494, briefly turning England into a republic. When the monarchy was restored, it returned with a permanent lesson embedded in its DNA. Through the Glorious Revolution of 1688 and the 1689 Bill of Rights, the Crown formally surrendered the power to levy taxes, suspend laws, or maintain a standing army without parliamentary consent. This early concession separated Britain from continental Europe. While French kings, Russian czars, and Ottoman sultans hoarded absolute control, the British monarchy built a constitutional shield around itself. By transferring governance to elected representatives, the Crown insulated itself from public fury. When economic panic struck, wars went badly, or social unrest flared, the public directed their anger at the Prime Minister and the government of the day. Politicians could be voted out, disgraced, or replaced, while the monarch remained elevated above the political mud, serving as an untarnished symbol of national continuity. In contrast, when Tsar Nicholas II insisted on maintaining absolute power during the devastation of the First World War, he inherited absolute responsibility. With no parliamentary buffer to absorb the shock of popular rage, the entire Russian imperial system collapsed, taking the Romanov dynasty down with it. Watching the destruction of his royal relatives across Europe, King George V understood that survival required immediate and radical adaptation. In 1917, as anti-German sentiment peaked during World War I, he executed a masterstroke of institutional rebranding. The royal family's official dynastic name, Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, was blatantly German, shared even with the enemy bombers striking London. In a decisive proclamation, George V stripped away the German name and established the House of Windsor, invoking the ancient English castle to project permanence and deep patriotic roots. Beyond branding, the king connected directly with the public by visiting wounded soldiers, factories, and front lines. Most ruthlessly, when the British government proposed offering asylum to the deposed Tsar Nicholas and his family, George V quietly vetoed the offer. Recognizing that bringing his controversial cousin to Britain could trigger Republican outrage at home, he abandoned his own family to safeguard the throne. This instinct for self-preservation was tested again during the interwar years and the abdication crisis of 1936, when King Edward VIII chose to renounce the throne to marry American socialite Wallis Simpson. The institution faced a potential crisis of confidence. Yet the monarchy pivoted smoothly. Edward's quiet, dutiful brother stepped forward as King George VI, and alongside his wife, Queen Elizabeth, rebuilt public trust through steadfast leadership during World War II. When German bombs struck London, including Buckingham Palace itself, the monarchy refused to evacuate to safety. By remaining in the capital, sharing in wartime rationing, and visiting devastated neighborhoods, the monarchy transformed itself from an elite relic into an essential symbol of national resilience. While other European crowns collapsed under the strain of war and authoritarianism, the British monarchy emerged more deeply embedded in the national consciousness than ever before. When Queen Elizabeth II ascended the throne in 1952, she inherited a fragile institution amidst the rapid dismantling of the British Empire. As colonies gained independence across the globe, she spearheaded a transformation, replacing imperial rule with the Commonwealth, a voluntary association of independent nations tied together by soft power and shared diplomacy. She also embraced the power of emerging mass media. By permitting live television cameras into her 1953 coronation and participating in behind-the-scenes broadcasts, she humanized the crown while maintaining strict political neutrality. Across 70 decades, 15 prime ministers, and sweeping social revolutions, Elizabeth never publicly expressed a personal political opinion. Her silence was her ultimate strength, allowing citizens across the political spectrum to project their own values on the sovereign. Underlying this cultural presence is a shrewd financial strategy. Through the Crown Estate, a vast property portfolio whose surplus revenues flow into the public treasury in exchange for a fixed sovereign grant, the institution frames itself as an economic asset that generates revenue and tourism rather than a burden on taxpayers. In an era where every institution must justify its utility, this positioning provides a compelling financial rationale for its existence. Today, as King Charles III navigates modern challenges, including shifting demographics and heightened scrutiny over royal finances, the House of Windsor relies on the same core formula that saved it a century ago. The British monarchy did not survive through military dominance, divine right, or political force, but through an unrivaled capacity to adapt, bend, and yield power before it could be taken. By surrendering political authority in exchange for cultural permanence, the House of Windsor proved that the most durable form of power is not the ability to command, but the ability to endure.